Our mission is to take AI to the ground. Our mission is to deploy AI solutions. Our mission is to make people experience AI, learn from it, and then build the strategy.
5 months after we launched, we got this email from a 13-year-old girl from the US saying that I am 13, I have depression, I tried to commit suicide. And you're the only thing which is helping me hold on, so thank you. That's when I think the penny dropped. That's when I think I started believing, saying that this is real and this is actually has high impact.
On every grid, there is tons of data which is combined to answer again the past, present, and the future of that grid, right? And you can change the crop and the variety, and it changes the impression.
In farming today, irrespective of whether the plants are healthy or unhealthy, you just blanket give your entire farm medicine, which is a crazy thing. Give medicine only to plants that are sick, or when they are stunted growth, give them a boost. So that at an analogy level is what we are going on.
What does it mean to die and to live, and are we? What is it? I wonder if technology will solve it, but somewhere I just think the more technology one sees, one is getting more inward. Today, there is no conversation without the word AI. And in the startup world, you meet any startups today and they will have abc.ai. Beyond all this hype and conversation, what is actually happening in reality, on ground? What are we doing as businesses, as entrepreneurs, and more importantly, as country? As India, how are we setting our AI agenda? Today with me, I have 4 phenomenal leaders who are going to talk about the real application of AI, how in their businesses they're leveraging AI, and more importantly, the work that they are doing in agriculture, in health, agri-robotics. And of course, I have with me Shekar from Wadhwani Foundation. They're doing a lot of work in the area of AI, and we'll actually try to understand कि ये AI है क्या और क्या हो रहा है और हमें इससे क्या सीखना चाहिए और अपनी जिंदगी में, अपने बिजनेस में और हम जो भी कर रहे हैं उसमें कैसे इसको प्रैक्टिकली यूज करना चाहिए. So with this, I open the house, and Shekhar, we'll begin with you. Please, for everyone, if you can introduce yourself and how are you working in the area of AI?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Shekar Sivasubramanian. I head up the Wadhwani Institute for Artificial Intelligence. It's a not-for-profit that's been set up. It was inaugurated in 2018 by the Prime Minister of India. For the first 2.5 years, we were doing a little more of research type of work, and then we changed direction. And we decided that we wanted to move into the world of impact, the reason we were actually set up. And 2022 onwards, we started working closely with the government of India. And from in early beginning of a few people, now this institute has 250 to 270 full-time plus 150 consultants. So we're the largest AI institute for social good in India. What have we done? We've delivered 25 solutions across agriculture, healthcare and education, and several other spaces. We've embedded closely in the government of India, and now this year heavily in state governments. Our mission is to take AI to the ground. Our mission is to deploy AI solutions. Our mission is to make people experience AI, learn from it, and then build the strategy. It's the exact opposite. You don't have a strategy, you start doing the work. You start building AI solutions. AI by definition are point solutions. In other words, it can solve a specific problem in a specific context. And therefore, if you have to impact an ecosystem which has several problems, you need to build multiple AI solutions. You have to take the entire ecosystem with you. You have to teach people. You have to demystify it. I would like to argue that we are the most underhyped AI institute because we don't talk too much AI. Actually, AI is the least important of AI problem solving. Problem in that statement is the most important. And if you focus without bias, with the basic cognitive ability to understand the ecosystem that actually solves problems using any technology, AI being just one of it, then you understand that AI forms a small part of the equation. Therefore, we don't talk much about AI. And in fact, our experience has taught us that most of the challenges occur later. One of our maxims is whenever we start solving a problem, because of our experience and our co-location with the government and the scale, for us, everything is crores. Nothing we think of in less than crores. Because if you have to accomplish something in India, you need to do it pan-India, multilingual, multicultural, and you need to solve it in the context of the people that we are trying to help. So it's a tough ask. It's a difficult ask, not because of anything, just because of the complexity of the problem. And so one of our maxims we live by is deployment first. We don't like to face the problem at the time of deployment. We'd rather face it at the time of design. Because economically as well, the amount of effort and money you have to put in when you think about a problem, and you can think most problems are visible to everybody, but most people like to defer it. Intellectual laziness, call it what you will. It's easy to hype yourselves into a set of talk for a variety of reasons. Since we're in the not-for-profit space, money is out of the equation. There is no concept of profitability. There is no concept of top line. There are no investors who are after. So then what do you live for? You live for helping people. You live with the Indian context of seva. If you understand that well, the dimensions of problem solving are far more deep, fun, complex, ambiguous. AI becomes an irrelevant two little piece on the side. That's what we have found. It's very important. I'm not suggesting it should not be there. It has its place. But when you talk of the problem like this, your mind opens up in a different manner to the usage of AI for the people who need it the most, which is the poor people of India. And it is available and should be available for everybody. So that's our context, that's our existence, that's what we do.
Shekhar, you've set the tone. You've set the tone for this conversation. And what I'm taking is that the most understated AI institute, AI platform in the country. With that, I come to you, Ramakant.
No, thanks. And Shekar, I think you're being very modest because you're not the least well-known, you're the most well-known AI institute in the country. So our conversation, I think our journey starts very personally. So we are not AI professionals. We were around before AI was even a thing. And so just a quick note, I'm the founder of Wysa, Wysa. It's the world's largest conversational agent chatbot, which delivers a mental health intervention on AI chat. And the idea came to us this is 2016, so for almost 5 years before ChatGPT. I think it was brave and it was probably slightly naive for us to jump into it. The way it happened was personal need. So we had experience of suicide and depression in our friends and family circle. And I think we also realized how hard it is for someone to take help. With all the will in the world, with all the resources in the world, and all the access in the world, it's still extremely hard when you can't get out and when you're depressed and you can't even have a shower. How will you get into a car or get into a vehicle and go and see a therapist? It's not going to happen. So you do need to go where the person is. And I think we were initially solving for a person sample size of 1, which is ourselves, and said, what if there was a self-help intervention which you could actually use when at any time, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and this could be on your phone, and it could be high fidelity, clinically safe CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which can be delivered through a chatbot on your phone. So that was kind of the hypothesis. We stumbled onto it through 2 or 3 different pivots. Initially launched on a wing and a prayer. We put it out there on the Play Stores in early 2017, so January 2017. I was a skeptic when we launched because I was like, nobody's going to talk to an AI chatbot about their deepest, darkest fears, and this is never going to happen. I would never do it, is what I thought. And 5 months after we launched, we got this email from a 13-year-old girl from the US saying that I am 13, I have depression, I tried to commit suicide, and you're the only thing which is helping me hold on. So thank you. That's when I think the penny dropped. That's when I think I started believing, saying that this is real and this is actually has high impact. So this was May, June 2017. 2-3 years later, COVID happened. And then COVID made it extremely real even from a business point of view. So unlike Wadhwani AI, we are a for-profit business. We have investors and we're a Series B funded company. So institutions started reaching out. So public health, insurers, employers. And fast forward a few years later, we spent a lot of time proving that this works. We have the world's largest evidence base today in this particular space. We've had nearly more than 500 million conversations on the platform, 7 million people helped across 100 countries. And now we are monetizing very well, and we can talk more about that in terms of how do you make money out of AI, because that's one of the big, I think it's one of the big unanswered questions. So that's the path we are on right now, but it's been quite a journey. And
but a very impressive journey and much needed. Nothing comes to my mind in terms of building very scalable, personalized mental health solution.
Yeah. And that is the problem, really, what you're trying to solve. I think that's extremely well said.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to product market fit, we are startups are trying to figure it out. Imagine getting that email from that 13-year-old.
That's product market fit.
Yeah, that's goosebumps. I mean, if you're thinking about impact, that's like ultra high impact.
And since then, it's a great way of also, because when you marry mission with meaning or meaning with money, it's also great motivation for the team. So we've hardly had anybody leave. Involuntary churn is zero almost at Wysa, because people really believe in the work they do. More than 500 people have written in to say that this has saved their lives. So that keeps you going through the dark days.
Krishna?
I'm the founder and CEO of Cropin. We are AI and data company in food and agriculture space. We are building, we zoom into the farms and we try to decode the past, present and the future of that farm. So if you have chosen a crop to grow, then how it has behaved in the past, what is the potential today, what are the risks which can hit that farm from disease, climate, and the livelihood point of view if it belongs to a farmer, right? So, and then how it is going to behave in the long term, right, with the crop you want to grow. So we also make a suggestion that what if you put this crop variety, this is the yield potential you will get, looking at the long term next season planning and the long term planning as well. Then we zoom out and we talk of the country and the future of that crop, whether it's a corn and the rice. And the data is the intelligence is built on every grid of 1 by 1 kilometer. That what happened on this grid in last 7 years, why the crop acreages are shrinking or increasing. It's a fertilizer issue, it's a drought issue, why the yield has dropped, what is the causal of that. So on every grid, there is tons of data which is combined to answer again the past, present and the future of that grid, right? And you can change the crop and the variety and it changes the impression. Now these data sets are enabling the smallholder growers to take actionable. For example, tomorrow there could be a frost and it can interfere with your yield of potato. Or if it's a government, then they can take a policy decision that why this acreage is shrinking on this grid. Is it, do we need to intervene with a policy like irrigation policy or some subsidy where they spend their resources? So in this process, we have a world largest data set. So we sit on around 0.5 billion crop records.
How many?
0.5 billion crop records.
Wow.
From 103 countries on 500 crop and 10,000 varieties of the crop. Now, why this variety is very important? This is like a dialect, right? So when you're training your LLMs, it changes, right? Hindi changes, tone changes, and the model need to see. Now, every crop and variety has a different traits, different resistance to a certain disease, how long it will take to grow. And your model need to see and learn from those features, right? And that's where we become the most data-rich platform of high-quality data, which is helping us to scale the solution and remain consistent. So the same solution is deployed in Sri Lanka, India, Kenya, Africa, 7-8 countries, and same solution deployed in Europe, LATAM, and the US. So you're solving a strawberry problem and helping the large retailers and the growers to manage the risk, supply, surety of supply, right? At the same time, it is decoding something in China that where should you expand to grow this particular variety in Gansu or Ningxia or other regions, right? So can you figure it out? I'm trying to expand 20% of my business. Which are the grids going to support this particular variety? So you go that deep to decode, okay, these are the grids which will support, looking at also the long-term and sustainability of the yield potential of it. So, and then going to Africa, working with the development agencies and government and saying, okay, corn is a food security question for the government, right? And government believes that crop acreages are shrinking, yield has dropped in the last 7 years, farmers are picking new crops, we have no data. Can you generate the data using the AI, that which farm took in last 7 years, every grid. So this is a grid of 1 by 1 kilometer. Can you go into that grid? Tell me which farm took corn in 2017 till now. What happened to that corn over a period of time? So compare that grid over a time series. Give me the causal of it so that we can take a policy level decision. So I think AI is a means to achieve things faster. The things which we take 500 people to work with the data scientists and decode these things, and it takes very, very long time. Now, if we do it right, you can get these answers by asking a question in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, right? So you can traverse through the trillions of data sets and build that, the answers which you're looking for, right? The way we asking questions today, right? And that was the biggest problem, right? So and these insights are sitting in multiple heads. So can you have one for the country or for organization or for development agency, one, let's say, head of farming AI or a head of agronomist?
You are an LLM with the highest amount of intelligence on agricultural land in the world today.
We compute 10% of the global agricultural land today.
Wow.
And we have created this whole grid structure. So you can ask question to the grid, and every grid, it will pop up the intelligence for you that what should I do on this particular grid.
Do you have a competition?
I think there are a lot of work happening in this space, but I think we have taken our journey, right? So 15 years, we started when there was no data. There was no technology in this sector. People were not able to correlate what we are talking about. So first we have to build that platform to generate data. That how do you keep the agronomy data on the platform? How do you structure it? How do you layer it? How do you keep it ready to make an intelligence out of it?
Yeah.
So you create a SOP because there's no parallel. You can go and see that I can build something.
It would have required a lot of hard work.
Yeah. So that's why this industry is a patient game, because you're starting from zero. You've seen the 0 to some transition to 1. Now you'll also see the 10.
Yeah.
But 0 to 1 transition takes time because this industry was not ready. There's no data. There is no appetite. The workforce you interact with in this sector has never used technology.
Yeah.
So in order to organize all this thing, to get to the 0.5 billion record, to make it a structure and start talking about the insight, you have to take that journey, right? And then and then somebody has to pay for it because you have to be sustainable. So we have that figured out that how much you pay for this, right? Because these are very, very future-looking outcomes we are providing. So I think in the process, we were the first to define the how much you charge for this kind of AI compute. So what is your revenue models? I believe AI is going to be very, very core to what we are doing, whether we realize and what we are building, and it has the ability to do this, step change where we are and where it's going, right? And that's not very far, according to me, right? What I'm reading, what I'm listening, and what these models are able to do, right? Today at the back end, and the way it's responding and the way it's enabling you to build things is amazing. That's what I see there.
Krishna, one of my very early in my career, I remember we were part of the Tata group, the TAS, and we went to Tata Chemicals, and they have a CSR funded arm, which is I think a husband-wife team, which was doing geospatial data, and they were superimposing land records, land ownership records, and crop patterns on crop sowing patterns and so on. And then they also had geological data on how the land subsidence is. So they were able to then go back and advise the district administration saying, you build a dam here. Yahan pe chota earthen dam banao, yahan pe bada dam banao. And you could see, and then they had this data over the next 25 years of how suddenly something which is completely brown turned green. In an entire state, just
pure with this
just
work,
by
right?
the data.
Yeah.
I still remember when I saw it for the first time, how I felt. It's ground changing.
Yeah, when we are looking at this problem statement, Shraddha, with our customers, recently we started working with some of these big customers as well. The losses of revenue has increased from 2% to 7 to 8% in last 5 years because of the climate change. And that has become so much variability in the supply chain that they are not able to predict, the surety of supply.
Yeah.
And then you look at the wastage in this industry, $600 billion of wastage. And if you take a crop line, and some of the questions we are getting, can you solve this problem for us? When should I pick that harvest so that I get a 1 extra day in myself? And there's a timing to it. A certain time if you harvest and you monitor that, supplier or a grower, whatever you call in different part of the world, and you say, this is the time the crop is moving, is our first harvest should be, so that you get 2 extra days. Now, it's not because retail will make money. Think about that wastage happens, which nobody is going to eat, right?
Yeah.
So that, right, and that goes out. And I think the impact of it, if you improve 0.1% of your solids in potato in India on let's say 25,000 hectare, you are adding to the economy $15 million. How do you increase that 0.1% of your solids, right? Which is again the income to the growers as well, because you are getting paid by that. So I think there's a huge impact. But if you marry this whole science with this is with agriculture, and grower doesn't have to actually know the science, as we were discussing, right? You don't have to know what is behind the wall. You need to know that this wall is going to secure me, right? So all the technology can be at the background, but if you can make it very actionable, very personalized, and the linguistic barrier, interacting with technology is going to be easier, because now he doesn't have to be literate. The apps, even if you make it in local language, if I don't know how to read and write, it's of no use.
But I'm seeing what you're doing is such a deep, impactful usage of AI, and yours also, right? Like, this is real conversation in terms of impact on ground.
The most deepest work is going to happen in agriculture. It's $1 trillion massive industry.
But most importantly, it's so important because there are a large chunk of people who still don't get food. And what you're doing will also solve the inequality.
Billion people. And in 2018 and 19, it has grown. The number of people who didn't get the right nutrition has increased actually. And we are living in this era, right? And because of the food and nutrition, they are not able to have, and the food security issue for so many countries, if you go to Africa and all. And the problem is nobody is able to do this decoding of this time series. What is the future of that corn on that grid? What we need to change is a regenerative agriculture. But why should farmer go and adopt a regenerative agriculture when there is a drop in the yield? Where is the insurance company who's underwriting that risk? And the money should come from the subsidy, so that he does that experiment, and these adoption happens. This whole thing's become more healthier, the soil, and then diversity around that farm. I think a lot of the pieces need to come together. I think the binding thing will be the technology. So we are having this conversation with the insurance guys, and then the guys who are investing their 7 to 14% of their revenue on the regenerative agriculture, the big ones, they're parking aside, and there is a government who's trying to bring the subsidy, so that this massive movement can happen in the countries. We are working in the Maharashtra on the regenerative. So Maharashtra government is taken an initiative to adopt regenerative agriculture practices, and they are promoting farmers to do that. And there is a subsidy going to be passed on to them. We are monitoring those practices, and the SDFC is going to make the payout based on those triggers to the growers, right? So I think there are different models are evolving. So there is a lot of focus, but how do you bind it together is going to be a technology which is going to give you pieces that, how should you use this data to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. And then you are underwriting the risk, and the farmer doesn't have to pay, because it's not only his problem, right? Today, the climate change is all we are creating it.
And there are no new lands getting created. So you have to maximize from the existing lands. This is very powerful and very good ground level application of AI.
I can give a different flavor of things here. I think very similar to what Krishna says. I think we are also in the agriculture space, but we are in the robotics space. So our mission at Niqo Robotics is, how do you build accessible and reliable robots for sustainable agriculture? And the analogy that I like to draw is, if the way farming is done today, if you're a teacher, you have 30 kids in your class, 2-3 kids are sick, you're going to give your only 2-3 kids medicine. But in farming today, irrespective of whether the plants are healthy or unhealthy, you just blanket give your entire farm medicine, which is a crazy thing. So why are we spraying pesticides, nutrition, and even beneficial on an acre level, harking back to the kind of teacher classroom, give medicine only to plants that are sick, or when they are stunted growth, give them a boost? So that, at an analogy level, is what we are going after. How do we do it? At the core of our technology is a smart camera. And when we say robotics, obviously it conjures up all kinds of imaginations, humanoid robots, scary looking things, etc. But I like to break down a robot into essentially 3 functions. The ability to sense. So in our case, that sense is see. The ability to process, so compute. And finally, if you do the first 2 things correctly, you have to take action. And I think the ability to sense, compute, and take action is what a robot is, essentially. We have hyper-focus in agriculture. We are hyper-focused on one use case right now, which is spraying of pesticides and fertilizers on plants. So you can imagine today, we have sprayed about 150,000 acres, 1.5 lakh acres, mainly focused in Akola, Maharashtra, and Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. And the typical farmer that we are using our technology is an 8-acre cotton farmer. So the way you grow cotton is you plow your land, you level it, you put your seed in the ground, and each one of the seeds are planted close to 18 inches apart, 1.5 foot apart. 15 days after sowing, you have to come and do a bunch of sprays. Either it's fertilizer spray or prevental fungicide spray. So if you look at a farm, you'll see brown or black soil and dots of green germination. What our cameras do is it retrofits onto an existing tractor. You turn on the sprayer, and as you're traveling the farm, the camera is looking down on the ground and saying, wherever the green plant has germinated, turn on the nozzle and just give it a dose of the pesticide. Don't be on all the time. So it's almost like a perfume. You just go and put a small dose on each one of the plants.
Precision medicine for plants.
Yeah, exactly. Precision dosage for farming. So just imagine. So you have this 8-acre farmer who's going. We have like 40 nozzles. All of them are going on, off, on, off, on, off, based on where the plants are. And when you see it, it's kind of cool to see. It's like an orchestra, like going on and off. But apart from the cool factor, the crazy kind of eureka, euphoric moment for the farmer is, in his mind, in her mind, they have a dosage of 600 liters per acre. This is what I used to do. And now with our technology, when they spray that 1 acre and they open up their tank, there's still 300 liters of pesticide remaining. So that's when they realize, oh, I just saw you spray on my farm. You didn't underdose. You didn't like try and reduce the dosage. Just by doing on and off of the nozzle with the camera, you're able to save 50% of my pesticide.
Wow.
And it's a easy concept to understand, super hard technically to execute. And I think also it's okay to be a little jingoistic here. I think the robotics world and the AI world, we are usually receivers. Like people feel like technology needs to trickle down and we need to consume that. I think by the way, our office is down the road from here. We are firmly putting our flag, the Indian flag, down and saying this technology should bubble up. So can we build in India and then also help your California and Arizona and all these other farmers? And
Brilliant.
I think we're there. So we are personally excited. I like Atom's business. I don't know how these like B2B enterprise SaaS founders, how they get up in the morning and say, I want to build a SaaS company. The fun is in the robot. Come see a Atom, do something like spray, get excited about changing the world. And you know what? I feel like we're coming back to full circle. I don't know if you remember. By the way, I think another weird selection here is all of us are pre-COVID startups. So you haven't selected the new gen AI founders yet. So I don't know whether it's by design or by default, but all of us started our companies before this current hype cycle is concerned. And we've seen the ups and downs. So I don't know if you remember, but back in 2018, there was a AI for social good competition organized by the central government.
Yes.
In partnership with METI. And guess who was one of the judges? Shraddha. And back then, we were nothing. I had this presentation and this. We got an email saying, hey, do you want to participate? As usual, anything from the government, we're a little, as a startup founder, you're a little allergic. We're like, chalo, let's apply for this. We made the 20-minute pitch. They asked us a question, what does the robot do? What does the robot doesn't do? Within 1 week, luckily, I think thanks to you, we won that competition. Within 1 month, 30 lakhs was wired to our bank account. Super smooth. I mean, like for an early stage startup, back in the day, that was
Huge.
enormous boost.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's validation. It's not only on certificate, but this cash money. And so, and I think after that, the AI thing kind of died down. We got into like this e-commerce hype cycle, and other stuff became cool in between, like from 2018. And now, guess what? We're back again, and we're getting invited to a table. So sometimes life comes full circle, but.
But tell me something, how are you seeing the adoption? Are people coming to you? Because I see no-brainer for anyone who has a farm to reach out to you or for these large conglomerates.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think like when we were trying to sell the idea of AI, even when you're trying to sell the idea of the nozzles going on and off, I think I would say it was like falling on deaf ears. When that farmer opened up that tank and he saw there's like 3,000 rupees worth of pesticide still there that I can use for the rest 2 acres, that's when he's like forwarding it to his neighbors, farmers, karo. They're going to charge you a little extra per acre, but instead of spending 2,000 rupees per acre, now your net is 1,000. So absolutely, I think a little bit, if you indulge me a little bit, before we kind of sharpened our pencils and said, we want to be a smart camera company that does AI-powered spot spraying. So the core of the camera is running an AI algorithm on the edge. So on the edge means no cloud compute. It's everything is happening locally. I think before that, we, classical tech founder trying to be overly ambitious, our bet was fully autonomous, electrically powered robot. So how would these India small farms, we will have hundreds of the robots communicating with each other and like this very futuristic way. And we go to the farmer and say, hey, do you want this? He's like, yes, I want this. We spent 2 years building that robot. We deployed in this farm. It worked. I said, hey, can you play 6 lakhs? No, I have my tractor. I was like, what? You said you wanted this 2 years back. No, it's like, yeah, it looks cool, but how am I going to get this robot from my shed to the farm? So I need to organize a Tata Ace and do this? No, my faithful tractor will do this. So to answer your question, we got dinged. So if you put a product in front of a farmer in India, our experience, and they don't see immediate ROI, like instant gratification, then it's super hard for you to sell. And I think with the spot spraying, we were able to achieve that. So right now, farmers wait for the camera-based spraying as opposed to unintelligent spraying. And we have to dial back our ambition. Like, we don't need to do this electrically powered swarm of robots. So we are extremely excited about the India opportunity. Farmers don't get enough credit for being shrewd businessmen. They'll pay only when they see value. But when they see value, they are loyal and sticky, and it's easy to scale.
How do the farmers get to know about you?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm on this panel right here. hopefully some farmers are progressive enough and reading your story. But that's one of the reasons why we need to get the word out there. And I think that's something that we need to work on.
Are you working with the government, state governments and all?
We're trying, We're trying. I think it's usually agriculture is a state subject. So it's a little fragmented and how to navigate this. But
you can Shekar help them.
I have this business card. I need to write to you.
Yeah. Very interesting. All the stories, excellent.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult part will be to make sure that the surface on which you're doing, because you're doing precision, so you have the surface uncertainty on which the tractor traverses and the ability to do a minimum amount of dosage on a small area where they're just used to throwing it like that.
Yep.
In order for it to take effect on that plant, is the mechanical problem may be a little more complex.
Right. Yeah.
With the farm slush, you're not going to, we all think farm means neat road.
No.
How did the idea come about?
Yeah.
What's the story?
Very nice idea.
Yeah, I think a little bit of background. I think prior to this, I was a trader. I was a Wall Street trader at BlackRock. So I did that for 7 years. And before that, I went to school at Carnegie Mellon, which is known for its robotics kind of program. And instead of going, West Coast and getting a California job, my father is a chartered accountant. He said, "No, you must go on Wall Street because it's my dream." So unfortunately, I didn't pursue that tech job. I ended up on a trading floor. And after 7 years, I think you get jaded, right?
Then
So-
you're a refugee from trading.
Yeah, I said, New York is great. Wall Street pay is sweet. But then you want to try something. We as a family, we have a coffee farm in Sakleshpur,
Oh, okay.
4 or 5 hours from here. So I went on the farm here. I was like, okay, farming is interesting. There's money to be made. But most of farming, Krishna can attest to this, is wisdom driven. Like,
Yes.
literally, my manager said, Mr. Radcliffe, which is the original British owner, was doing this, so I'm doing. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, this is like 2016. Like, are we still doing British wisdom-driven agriculture, or can we? So that was the naive idea to start this, but I incorporated the company in 2015. So it's 10 years, a lot of white hair. Still, my net worth is not even half of what my New York net worth is. But the fight is there.
But
Fire
I'm
is-
sure you are feeling so good,
Yeah.
and even with all the frustrations. And I can say for all of us in the room, because if you're doing something meaningful, and you are, and what you're doing is also healthy
Yeah.
food on the table for people. Because enough of pesticide, enough of cancer, enough of
Yeah, this is one of the biggest challenges in this industry, is that there's a schedule has been created. Whether there is a pressure disease or not, if you're doing a crop, first spray, second spray, third spray, fourth spray, because farmer doesn't want to take a chance because it's a livelihood question for him. There are people who want to sell those doses because it has worked in the past and they've seen that outcome, and there is a cost, right? So as you mentioned, that 600 gallons of chemical has to be sprayed in an acre. One other thing which we also see, that can we be more predictive about that? What is the chance of, let's say, late blight on potato in next 7 days? Is it 10% or 75%? And if it is 75%, go ahead and do the spray. But if it's only 10%, do you want to wait for another 3 to 4 days to see whether pressure changes or not? Now, there is a caveat to it, right? How much you trust that? The trust factor comes in. And do you want to really miss that spray because something goes wrong? It interferes with your livelihood as well. But the benefit is immense. So that's where, the human in the loop, with that insight, working closely with the farmer, takes the call together.
So Krishna, I have a question. Why isn't the government invested in it? Because at the end of the day, the politics that you win is through farmers also. Why aren't governments very invested in that?
I think some of it, I have a larger context of this, which is a lot of our existing practices, which we have over a period of time codified. We have built hypotheses on it. We have proven it to a certain extent, and we are using it. To a very large extent comes from one body of knowledge. And a lot of that, in my humble opinion, is not holistic. And the reason it is not holistic is that the remaining part is very difficult to get to. What he said or what you said, while some of it could be wrong or not founded correctly, there is a lot of wisdom in India.
Yeah.
None of it is codified. Where do you get it? Unless you talk to somebody in a one-off situation, you'll understand. When we worked in the cotton farms, people would tell us stories about how they used to get a hold of pink bollworms or American bollworms and what it meant and what time they would come, which was unrelated to your basic Mickey Mouse 101 technology things that we were doing. They had so much wisdom. So some of the resistance comes out of a level of percolated knowledge that gets embedded in the system in a strong way. It's somewhat similar to your world as well. A lot of the resistance for people to use some of the things that he offers may be belief structures. Many of it is correct also. So actually, one of the points that is important with AI is an opportunity to get that into the fold. Not to exclude it,
Interesting.
but get it into the fold. Codify it. A lot of this has to do with an enormous discussion unrelated on something called bias. It's my favorite topic. A lot of people talk bias in AI. Poor AI. It does not do any bias. Human beings do bias.
Yeah.
It's learning from the data generated by the humans. Right?
Yeah,
So-
1970s and 80s, who wrote articles?
Yeah.
And what was picked up by the AI? What was repeated across website after website? Human beings copied it. I remember speaking to a executive in a storage company, he was a CEO, and he had a business model. He showed his, vertical growth. I told him a lot of the information on the internet is copied, isn't it? He said, "What are you doing? Killing my business model?" There is very little unique information on the internet. Repetition on the internet, picked up by AI, feels it is being emphasized. Bias comes in.
Yeah.
You hear the same thing 5 times and you think that's
So
true.
where does bias stem from? And converse statement. If you have large swaths of the population not represented in it at all, you've created bias.
So we have a biased AI right now.
We have a fundamentally, it depends on the if you are training it on this set of people
Yeah.
and using it on this set of people, you're okay. If you're training it on this set of people and using it on this set of people,
Then
you're not okay.
Yeah.
Today,
I
the
have
all
a
this-
personal
And so
experience,
a lot of it comes,
share.
a lot of the learning of AI, which is counterintuitive for most people, as against software, which people are used to. It's somewhat mature, 30, 40 years. Fortunately, I've been there right from the beginning. I was in the 1980s. I'm one of the great-grandfathers of software. We had less than 500 people in India.
You
when I
have the
started.
wisdom to talk.
I've seen
Yes.
through it. Rule-based system is simple. If you're over 50, go right. If you're equal to or under 50, go left. You can run it a million years, nothing will change. In AI, you will have a certain number of instances where you'll be wrong. How do you think of a system where you're wrong some of the time? What about that one human being who got the wrong answer? That's the way you have to think. You cannot get excited. I mean, 98.7% है भाई 1.3% error है. 1 लाख में 1300 तुम error कर रहे हो ना? कैसे सोच रहे हो उसके बारे में? ये सोच लोगों में नहीं आता है. Second part, which is completely unknown in AI, is in software you release it, you test it, you're done. In AI, I get so much data for my AI model. Nobody is going to give me pan-India data and say, build the AI model. That took me 5 years.
Yeah.
I get 4 districts, 6 districts. It means, in our example, you get so much data. Then when you release it, you have to run with it for 3 years for it to mature. So AI is about post-deployment training. Lot of people feel AI is, once you do it, it's done. It is the beginning. It is not the end. AI ends 3 years after the first rollout of AI. Because then slowly and steadily, like one simple person, you will walk across all of India. You'll get data from Meghalaya and Manipur and Jammu and Kashmir and Rajasthan, Karnataka, and you'll get the variances of the different parts of people, behavior, linguistic, action, baby photo, speech, everything. And when you feel, reasonable, I think I've covered a reasonable part of the population of the country, then you can say, I've done version 0.
I was watching the Facebook and some feed came in. There was a married couple who put her image on the Gilbert to generate an image, and she was carrying this Nariel, and the image generator was a kid, and they just got married on the stage, right? So now that holding posture, the AI is thinking is maybe a baby, and the Mangalsutra is a cross. I don't know how true it is, but it was posted there, right? So this is what it is generating. I think most of the models which we're building, which is horizontal in the space, horizontally solving the problem, is biased toward the global north. Because most of the contents organized way, the models are learned from there. Global south data is not so much organized, right? So whenever you need to retrain the model. We did this beta test, right? So we built, we call it as a micro model for climate smart agriculture for global south. And we took Mistral, we compressed it from 8-bit to 4-bit, did a lot of quantization, used QLoRa and all the stuff. We said we don't have money, 30 million or 100 million to train that model. So we generated around 5,000 question answer pair. We had our own IP data. We trained it and we made it open source to show the world that you can have a 60% better efficacy than the Chat GPT Turbo 4 that point of time. You can get and it is defined by the Rogue score and other stuff, right? We opened the code, we opened all the results, and it was in a Hugging Face. So we said, okay, this is open source now. And the difference was with that data sets, with that 4-bit compression, it didn't lose the relevance of that Mistral model, which was quite a heavy model, with that effort of training it with the Global South data, giving 60% better answer than any of those comparison we did. And we published that data sets, results, and everything.
Right.
And that is what we need to
No, that's right.
think
In that lies the secret
Yeah.
of one part of the secret of government support. How do you expect the government to support you if you do not have a commitment to look at your own country and train models based on your own country? So you have to have a deep and firm commitment to do things in India for India.
Yeah.
And that, like he's faced, the first part of it is very difficult. And we are in that first phase right now. So in our Anthro solution, where we take a 5-second video of a baby in a home and estimate its critical parameters, its weight, its length, its chest circumference, its arm circumference, its head circumference, used by ASHA workers in India, rolled out in an entire state. This I wanted to become in 26 the de facto standard for children in India between 0 and 42 days. If you do that with, right now we have about 10, 15, 20,000 babies, which is one of the largest collections. If I can get it trained on 500,000 babies, 500,000 or 1 million babies, its error rate, which is significantly it's totally acceptable, very low. It will go so low that it will become the de facto standard. But you have to have the commitment of building AI models from first principles in India for India.
Correct.
Which means you have to think carefully. I'll give you the example of this baby thing. So the scientists think like scientists. They don't as much worry about real world consideration. So they felt, you know what, the ASHA worker can take like a checkerboard. Because when you take a photo of a baby or a video of a baby, you need a known commodity that you can size it in a certain sense. So the known commodity is a checkerboard. You know, a checkerboard is always dimensioned in a certain manner. So I said, have you guys gone mad? आशा वर्कर को कहाँ चेकरबोर्ड मिलेगा भारत में? वो क्या चेस खेलती है? वुडन रूलर उसके पास मिलने का जिंदगी में आकांक्षा है. 5-10 रुपया का है. उसमें सॉल्व कर सकते हो तो सॉल्व करो, नहीं तो फेंको सोल्यूशन. सॉल्व किया. They use a wooden ruler as a one dimension, not two-dimensional object, and solve it. Same thing for oral reading fluency, where we check for babies. I told them the cost per inference should be 2-3 paisa. I like to think of paisa. I'm a big kichus कंजूस. I like to think of paisa. For me, not dollars, not cents. पैसे में बात करो. 5 पैसे में कर सकते हो, 3 पैसे में कर सकते हो, तो बात करो. To his point, the economics of the solution has to be paramount.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's social sector or it's not. When people use it, you have to think, why will they want to use it? And if you cannot solve that problem up front, then all you are doing is deferring your failure. So that is super critical. Even government is very smart about this. They know this. So unless you can give them proven ability, if you go, I'm making up a hypothetical story, an AI guy comes in, so forget AI, a guy who can solve problem comes and says, I've solved it, we have 800 districts, I've solved it in, a subset of 200 districts. Government will say, come, let's talk. What people will say, I've solved it in one district with 7 people. Bhai, fight hai.
से बाद में आना.
आराम से आना, थोड़ा काम करके आना. आपको वो क्रिटिकल मास आपका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. क्या होता है ना, साइंटिस्ट उस पर सोचते ही नहीं है.
But actually with the government, our experience, so it's very I think you need a lot of humility when you're building for Bharat. So our example was, so we did these projects on gig workers. Said that, gig, obviously, your Zomato, Swiggy, riders and so on, very insecure jobs, financially very insecure, always under stress. वो 5-minute, 10-minute delivery deadline, बेचारा सबसे ज़्यादा उसको, I think the driver is suffering most.
His market is clear.
So, but then we said, okay, fine, we want to develop something which is now in Hindi or Gujarati or whatever, and we want to deploy this in that particular market. We're doing some work in the women and child sector in Maharashtra right now as well, for underprivileged children, girls on sexual reproductive health as well. It's a grant-funded project along with the government. But what we are realizing is that these kind of things, the paradigm completely changes, because like you said, if you design for either a Western or a literate audience who's interacting, say in our product, interacting with Wysa on text in English, and then you take it to a type 1 diabetes patient in Aurangabad and say, ki, Acha, you're taking insulin, but there is a lot of mental distress, and if you're anxious or depressed, you will stop taking your insulin, you will die. Right? So there is a clear connection between mental behavioral health and physical health or mortality in that particular case. What we found was that it's a completely different language, because if you take a chatbot with, say, 5 buttons saying, if it is this, then choose this, if it is this, then choose this, most people can't identify a CTA. And in that particular segment whom we were serving, the people are getting stressed by looking at those 5 buttons and saying, "Main kya karu?" So you have to really rethink and redesign that whole thing 100%. Completely from scratch with no preconceived notions.
100%. In fact, I call this prescriptive versus feature-rich. See, there is a whole different design paradigm which is unfortunately not taught nor understood. You have to discover it and crack it yourself, which is, I call it Bharat and India. India is all of us. Bharat is the person who's holding a smartphone for the first time, quasi-trained by WhatsApp and YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, that's huge.
Right?
That's huge.
And so they have to do some movement, some basic stuff. For such people, drop downs, radio buttons, nothing will work.
It will never work.
It's called prescriptive. You tell them, yahan pahunche ho, ye karo. So what happens is, the technology provider has to take complete responsibility of the solution. You cannot hand over, you cannot come back and say, you know what, the user selected something wrong, so it went wrong.
Correct. And
this is not an option.
And the other thing is that, especially in Bharat, what we've experienced, and ours is still a very early journey there, that people love doing passive consumption of content. If you create something which in most cases you say, oh, this is interactive, it is better. But in that part of the world or that part of India, if it's interactive, it is stress induced.
Very much. You are 100%.
So they're used to consuming content. YouTube video dekh liya to bahut acha hai.
Boss,
you ask me to have a conversation. Oh my God, main kya karu?
I'm going to stir up the pot a little bit.
Right.
I think you asked me, I think the genesis of the question is, what can government do? I'm a free market guy. And especially in our sector, there's 136 million hectares of agriculture. Magically, it's literally magic. June 6th, monsoon comes every year. It's like ridiculous. Like when you ask the farmer, when is the monsoon coming? June 6th. So we have 136 million hectares. We have this God-given fertile soil. We have this magical rain phenomena coming. It's our game to lose. So what I would say is, farming as an occupation, us as providers, has to be run like a business. Don't give me subsidy. Don't give me anything. I should plant my seed on the ground, and my selling price should be higher than my cost price, and I make the profit. And that should be the mentality. So are we there yet? No. Maybe we need less people in farming. Do I want to go to the government and petition a subsidy for my spraying? No. I don't want it. I want my solution to provide ROI to the farmer just by pure commerce. You buy it, you use it, no grant, no subsidy.
But you see,
and that's my philosophy.
But it's a very good thing. But I'm just saying that that's why it becomes so complicated. This conversation can just go deep and deep, because I would say you're a farmer from Sakleshpur, and I'm a farmer from Bihar. And in Bihar, like, it is so bad, and droughts come or floods come, and it's just hand to mouth, and they are money lenders, and you need support, and there's just no support. It's just so complicated. But I hear what you are saying.
It's fully complicated, and I think structurally maybe a 2-acre farmer is unviable in farming, and we need to aggregate more land. And if you ask me, if we have a little fun here, what do I need from government, and like what could like actually help us? I would love to jump on a plane with Prime Minister Modi, and when he's doing these foreign missions and he's surrounded by these industrialists, top 10 industrialists who always travel with him, who always have picture. Hey, come on, invite us. Let us also show how AI is helping your rural employment, and tap us on the shoulder, and we can portray that story.
How has the world changed after ChatGPT?
I think we have to redefine learning and forms of intelligence. And we have to revisit it, because I think the example I can use is a crude one, but it's a simple one. A 15-digit into a 16-digit multiplier, nobody will do. It'll take me, I think, 6 months to get the right answer. And that is what is provided by the modern technologies. But the numbers have to be entered by you. And it separates the cognitive ability of the individual to actually have the human ability to connect everything that they see, they understand, they perceive in an unbiased, straightforward manner, reflect upon it, and then interface those 16 digits into that thing. That is not taught. We are rushing with degrees from various universities, getting super excited because we scored certain marks in certain contexts, none of which prepares us for leveraging this technology with intelligence. So, and we speak about, simplistic things, break the problem into, no. You have to have a very high, the best example I can use, and I often use, is the difference between me and Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia playing the flute. Both of us have a wooden piece. I think one of us will not know what to do with it, another will produce beautiful music. Exactly the same is there with these tools. It is the driver of the tool who must be the individual who has the capability to connect dots that are not visible, to have a wide perspective of how you do problem solving, narrow it down with intelligence, ask it questions, and don't worry about the details for now. Don't worry whether, that is the least important part of the problem. This has not been taught. This is the opportunity between absolute success using I'll give you the simplest example. I just did some fun. I'll give you an AI problem. Simple AI problem about one line. Can you tell me which street dog will bite? That's it. Solve it. Break the problem up and solve it. Use LLMs. Do whatever you want. फोटो लेना है, लोकेलिटी देखना है, उसका टेल देखना है, माउथ फोम हो रहा है देखना है, एंड टू एंड सॉल्व करो. कोई टूल नहीं देंगे आपको, पेपर और पेन देंगे, सोचो. ये करते हैं कि नहीं करते? नहीं करते ना. तो इंटेलिजेंस मसल है, तो वो मसल को यूज नहीं करते. मसल को यूज नहीं करते, फिर आप एक पावरफुल टूल के पास जाओगे, तो फिर मैं ही फ्लूट बजाऊंगा ना.
Amazing. Like, very well said. Very good.
There is another dimension to this, right? These models which have been creating is becoming a little bit more of agentic, right? People are talking a lot of things we don't know. Now think about this whole valley between the developed world and the developing countries. I think what is becoming very important that how do you cover that miles where there is a gap right now? If you don't do that, there is a disadvantage to all these countries, right? How these things will be used. And it's prerogative for every country to build that narrative that how do we become equivalent to what is happening in the market? Because those tools can take you for the ride, right? Because the information you will have, decisions you will make, and the rest of the Janata is not at par with that, should not happen to this world. I think these models are building their own models when they don't understand what is happening. And we are not, and there are many other discussions that has happened between all these players, big guys, when they sit in the, right? What is coming, you don't even, what is there, is not all out in the, out of the room, right? And that's very, very scary. And they are like, I think there is a recent Netflix movie called Wild Robot. And you should watch that movie. And that's where the world will move, right? So there is a robot who comes into the world, and he lands up in a jungle. He doesn't understand the language there, and he tries to interact because he is trained to do a task. He takes the task and he does the task, but nobody is there to converse. The first thing he does that he learns the language of the jungle, adapts, and then takes the task. complete the task, and it's a beautiful movie. But that's where we are moving. So world has changed. It has changed so dramatically that there are few people who understand what the implication is going to be. And I think we should take everybody along. But I don't think the world is thinking that way. World is thinking as advantage. Who
Saying
wins
the
this?
glass is half
You know, but
full.
I think,
so-
Krishna, don't you think, and to all of us, don't you think this is also a time for India also to take a lead?
That's my point. I mean, and that's where another question comes in, right? When I said government has to take a bold investment, not this small cookies, because if you want to bridge that gap, we are making statements that we don't have to build that. Probably we will be innovating solutions. I don't agree to that. I think you have to build that capability.
And why can't we?
And why can't
Yeah, I
we?
think
The question,
yeah,
right? We
it
have
goes
so
back-
much talent.
It goes back to
Yes.
the two
We have the best
dumbbells.
engineers,
Yeah.
best talent.
I think today, people when they interact with you, they give you that respect because you talk in that language, and probably better language than what they can solve. We have seen solutions from the West point of view. Today, the solutions are coming from this part of the world, and better solutions. So I think what we don't have is a resource, and that's where government can play the role. They should come and say, as I was saying, right, here is a 10 billion investment over 5 years. I'll invest in 500 companies. I don't bother with what's the money it's going to be wasted, but by principle of investment, you'll get those 5 to 10 companies will come out and shine like the top tech guys which are done in the Silicon Valley, right? So even the people who are the most wealthiest in this country are sitting on the wealth, but they are not investing in this direction.
I think it goes back to that
Yeah,
whole
so
dumbbell,
I think that mindset will
dumbbell kind of
change.
model.
And if you don't change,
then you
then
have
you
a problem.
lose, because when before the AI race came in, right, you saw some statement was made by Chinese
We
premier.
keep talking about
Yeah.
App Store and all these App Store fights and everything. And again, it's going to be the paying
At the top level.
for this LLMs and
Yeah.
all. Again,
Yeah.
It will be used against the way humans are designed, right? West, East, culture, superior. I mean, these technology will be used against people who are not going to cover that mile because of the resourcing constraint. And this is where government should come in. I don't think Kenya or Ethiopia or India or Sri Lanka should suffer because they had not made that investment. And somebody knows. I mean, somebody can come in our country and say that you can't build this LLM. That shows that what is the gap. They think where we are.
yeah.
I think there's
Right,
two,
so-
yeah.
two
fair point.
perspectives, though I'd like to add one.
Yeah.
We should always also look at AI without LLM,
Yeah.
because we somehow get biased in one. There's lots of AI without LLM. And I can speak about our institute. We were surprised. So the normal general positioning was, you've built it for India, let's use it for the global south. We do a lot. We've represented ourselves. We participated with the government in about 10 or 12 of the G20 conferences in 2023. We were part of the government doing the presentations on AI. We also had a stall, that. So we would say this. Then a lot of countries came, which from the Western world, and they said, why you don't like the global north? We said, what do you mean? He said, every solution that you've built is applicable for us as well. It's our own mind that we have to just change, because taking a photograph of a baby, an infant, is something that you should give to any parent. Forget, in India, you can give it to an ASHA worker because of the rural community you need assisted. In the Western world, you can give it to any parent. From 0 to 42, they can monitor the growth of their own baby. End of story. We have a cough app where if you cough into an app, it will determine if you have TB or not. You can give it to anybody. We had the ambassador of the US come and cough into it. I was fretting a little bit. Fortunately, it showed him as TB negative. And anybody can use. He said, this anybody will use. Why will I not use? We have a disease monitoring. If you look at, there is a part of the AI which is slightly biased, and that will also go away. Believe me, in about 2 to 3 years, even that will go away, which is the training of these large models because of the advantage of a certain amount of technology investment. I personally believe resource-constrained models are more innovative. We were so innovative. I have completed an entire system built in India without having a computer by borrowing other people's computers. In other words, the Indian mind is extraordinary in problem solving in constraints. So we should not give them an unconstrained environment, because they do very well in constraints. And when you do that, then you solve a lot of problems for the world.
But thinking of constraints in the earlier days of Wysa, I remember when I was fundraising, I went on this general hunt, and this was at the angel funding round, and the individual I will not name, but very extremely ultra high net worth individual who heard the idea and heard the pitch and said, "आप लोग करोगे?" And I said, "Why? ये तो MIT में होता है, यहाँ पे थोड़ी होता है." And now we are being cited as case studies in places like MIT. So I think the constraint is not in terms of money. The constraint is in terms of bandwidth.
6 inches are the constraint.
So it's saying that what you can decide, if you decide to do it, if you decide to say that I'm going to create an ecosystem.
Absolutely.
This is also in the nature of the country, right? That we always has been resource constrained, so we think innovatively.
Yeah.
And even if you get a lot, we use it in the right way. If we are not like a surplus country, always been, right? It doesn't mean that we always need to be resource constrained. If I need thousands of A100s, I should have that 1,000 of A100s.
That is also
correct?
Correct.
Right?
Agree.
Because
100%.
I have to build. I mean, we have
Krishna,
to
I relate to this. After living in too much of constraint, it is like constraint
both.
is also limiting.
Limiting.
It's not
I mean, for that matter,
it's meaningful constraints.
celebrate-
Meaningful constraints.
See, we celebrate ISRO, right? What we have achieved, 75 rupees per kilometer.
ये जुगाड़ कर
But
दिया
still,
है.
we have not gone to the Pluto and into the moons of the Jupiter, right? Still, we have to, because have we built those machines? Yes. We didn't have those fundings to those organizations, so that we are lagging behind. Still, we have to travel that mile. Do I need to catch up in 10 years? We will not, because these technologies are, it takes times to build those. And we don't want to be in that situation now, because today we are not resource constrained. That's the point I'm making.
That's right.
Right? And we should take that leap.
Correct.
And we have the intellectual capital in the country.
Correct.
Right?
Critical
And the
mass is
brains
now
who can-
reached, and you need to be able to apply the
And
financial resources.
That's what we should realize and capitalize and use the resources which we have. We should not be in the mindset of we should always use small.
No.
Right? We should not do that now.
But what is very interesting is that let's not deny, like Shekar is saying, the wisdom of the constraint, the muscle that it gives us. But what you're saying is that, yes, with that, we also need the resource. Let's not live without resource when we have the resource. And we should invest in the resource, because it will require gestation and time.
That's right.
It's also, but the choice of the problem is so important, right? I mean, if
100%.
if you think about AI and say, okay, AI is like now it's the best thing since sliced bread, it will solve global poverty. It won't.
It won't.
Right? And it is only if you use it in the right way that it will solve global poverty.
It's a rifle shot. You can solve one problem precisely to assuming you have the wherewithal. It will solve one problem.
So something which makes me scared here is that, and I think I keep vacillating between extreme optimism and frightened out of my wits in terms of what the world will be like. Because if you think about social media and the way it is sucking you in, right? The real world has become a second screen. Because everybody is actually doing this. And बीच में ऊपर देखते कि अच्छा, you also said something very interesting.
I believe in that era of fatigue, like which will come. Correct. I believe in human beings.
But I don't know, collectively 80% of our creativity is going towards creating these what we call engagement AI models, which are sucking you in better and better and reflecting whatever you want is being reflected
I think
to you.
And I will
pulling you in, saying you can see more ads on social media, and that is the best use of our creativity.
Ramakant, the new trend might be off social media.
Yes,
I might start a club and charge premium. Like, hey, we'll just be quiet. We'll be without phone.
Because the engagement AI is dangerous. It's not.
I spoke at an education
We'll go to
perspective. And what I told them in the education, they were discussing a lot of education things, how to keep with an app. This is usual, 101. I told them, have you heard of the Madras monitorial system? Naturally, nobody had. It's a system that was there in the 1830s. So naturally, maybe it's my era. So at that time, in Egmore, I think, in Madras, there was one teacher per 100 students and a brilliant education system. And the reason it occurred was the teacher would teach the 18-year-olds, who would teach the 14-year-olds, who would teach the 10-year-olds, who would teach the 6-year-olds. And he wrote about it, Sir Andrew Bell, went back to the United Kingdom and standardized it. Why am I saying that? I told them, don't take human in the loop. Take human outside the loop also into the system. When you have an application, make sure parents are involved. Design it with parents. Design it away from the app with interaction with human beings. Construct your design to safeguard against depression. Don't push them into the app. Push them away from the app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing, but it's
It's
a
the
design
same engagement.
construct, no?
Yeah. It's a design. And
What you said just now, everybody, you are very correct. Second
Yes.
screen.
Second
Yes.
screen.
Have a quick rapid fire. Favorite book on AI?
Clara and the Sun, Kazuo Ishiguro.
I'm watching most of the people who are building it, and when they talk, so I basically go and watch that. Not reading any book right now.
Book is being written right now. So I don't think anybody, if someone's written a book on AI, I would call BS on it. It's being written, we're experiencing it.
Yeah, mine was science fiction.
Yeah, come see our robots. That's the book.
Yeah, nothing. Same.
Yeah.
No.
Watching, reading, listening to
Nothing.
people what they're talking,
I
experiencing it.
would prefer going and taking a walk.
One book which has impacted you a lot in your journey.
Straight from the guts.
Yeah, I just finished reading this on the way back here. It's a book called Tractor Wars. It kind of documents how in the early 1900s the movement towards farm-based agriculture moved to a tractor-based agriculture. And the crazy thing that resonated for me is when people are trying to sell a tractor to the farmers back in the day, it was a cost-benefit analysis with horses. 46 horses, my tractor can replace 46 horses. And today, when I'm in middle of Akola, Maharashtra, and I'm trying to make the case that, hey, don't use human knapsack sprayers to use your pesticide. It's like, wait a minute, it's deja vu all over again, almost 200 years later.
Wow.
So I think it's related to my industry, but I think that kind of history does repeat itself.
Yeah, brilliant.
Several books. One was Neuromarketing. It's a less known book because it explains how human beings actually make decisions and it appeals to the reptilian brain. It's a phenomenal book, and if you understand it well, you'll crack humanity.
Crack humanity
Completely.
only. Wow, let me write it down. Neuromarketing.
Neuromarketing. You don't have to worry. It's a 100-page
crack
book.
humanity.
The beauty of such books and the books I like is that they are not popular. I particularly like that. The second one is Managers, Not MBAs. Again, a brilliant book that's written by a Canadian author. And I say Canada because US is more known for its MBAs. The third one is Peter Senge's The Fifth Discipline, a very staid writer, a brilliant writer of how to break down things with clarity. And the one that I personally enjoyed, because I'm a maverick, I'm not a conformist, and it validated my nature, is a book called Rework, which is from 36 Signals. No meetings, no strategy, don't think of the future, you don't know it. Go through your experiences. My personal hypothesis, which I've seen all the time play out, is all strategies are retrofit. The story is conducted, and then somebody will write, this is what I did. Nobody has the ability to say what I will do. You have to go through a critical mass of experience before you reflect, this is what I did, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you do that, then if you switch it around, why do you want to waste your time doing strategy, no?
You should be a professor.
I normally will get called only once to a place, because after that, people will feel so, not disheartened, but they will feel, you know what, I want to leave what I'm studying.
Yeah.
So that's not good news. I did it once where I went to a big conference and I spoke. I told them, let's have just 1 minute, just for fun. I told them, let's have some fun. They said, okay. I said, I'm going to conduct an experiment. They said, okay. I said, all of you, please close your eyes. They closed it. Then I said, open it after 5 seconds. They opened it. I said, experiment is successful. They said, what was this all about? I said, before this, $1 was 70 rupees. After this, $1 is 1 rupee. How many of you are still in the room? This was to a software services organization set, who exclusively depend on cost arbitrage for survival. So naturally, I don't get called again.
Yes, your favorite book?
Hard to fly. I think one is a 1600-year-old book, which is the Yoga Sutras, which teaches you how to unhook, going back to engagement AI and the danger it, I think, possesses to the human mind. And so learning how to unhook, I think, is super important. The other one, I think, is The Innovator's Dilemma, Clayton Christensen. Again, talking about probably the same age we are living in right now, saying the really big companies will get disrupted out by upstarts.
Yeah.
And how that process happens and the dynamics of that process, fascinating.
Most overhyped buzzword in AI.
Anything.
I think,
Any word. To pick any word, it's overhyped.
I think to me,
Yeah.
I think everything has been spoken is slowly becoming a reality. So if we live with the, it's not happening, but that's a directional thing is happening. And so I'll not call it, we should not live by that word buzz. I think if you're not doing it, there's something we are missing right now. That's my feeling. Yeah.
Also possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biggest AI ethics worry that keeps you up?
I think, again, I'm already hearing Ramakant banging at fist saying, I disagree with you. I think we need to let animal spirits push the limit of where AI can take us. So there's this group, in my opinion, that is harping on AI ethics. And I think if you stifle progress before we can see impact, that is more harmful than brainstorming what bad can happen.
I agree with you.
You agree with me? Ah!
There was one book written long back in 1950s, 60s on the AI, and that book was about manipulating the humanity, because the main AI thought that they are harming themselves. So what he did was he started playing with the positioning of the people in the society or a job. So he took this agriculture guy, put it in some manufacturing. So the agriculture suffers, less food, people die. So he didn't do it, go and kill people, but the AI took the decision that how should I reduce the humanity without becoming, going by our three laws, right? We will not hurt the humanity, but if the humanity is hurting itself, then they need to be cleaned out. And they said that we will hit the food in a way that it doesn't, and then there's no food, so people will not have things to eat and they die. I don't know whether it's something, and I believe that if we are going towards that,
No, we're not. We're not.
what if that manipulation happens, right? But this is what all the
Why not?
stalwarts
Yeah,
was
just
talking,
open
right?
to yes.
In mental
anything
health,
today.
ethics in AI is actually really important. So,
Yeah.
in fact, the issue of over-regulation, so the EU AI Act has come in and created this whole thing about, anything which is AI used in healthcare, if it is affecting human psychology and so on, then it is illegal. And unless it has a certain set of guardrails around it, which is therapeutic AI. And I think that is important because at the same time, but there is possibility of over-regulating it as well. So it's a very fine balance.
What's the excitement? What's the optimism? What's that thing that you're looking forward to when it comes to using AI in your life, in your business? What's exciting?
Yeah, I can take a stab. I think few things.
Finally, some positive stab at something positive.
Yeah. No, I think I'm the glass is half full, empty. Like we need more AI. We need animal spirits here. Look, I think the way, for example, ChatGPT is being used internally in our companies. We have these ML guys who are obviously helping them in coding, but we have a pretty large fleet on the ground, like technicians working with machines, fixing stuff, not English educated, broken English. And before, there used to be a communication gap. And now when you read their Slack messages, like, what? How does Nitish from Bihar giving bullet point updates on how he fixed the machine? So AI is definitely leveling up people who had this communication gap. So I'm like super excited about that. And what a great tool, right? Number two, I don't know if you guys watched the Lex Friedman podcast with Narendra Modi. I'm married. My wife's from Madhya Pradesh. I'm South Indian, Kannadiga. To be honest, some of the Hindi words that Prime Minister uses, I don't even know. So for that entire 3-hour conversation, to have real-time translation in English and I can switch back and it sounds like him, wow, like this is the power of AI. Like how can we, safeguard our Indian languages before thinking about, robots are coming to take your job. So these two things, and the third thing, it's like a wild one. I think if we unleash AI, there's one school of thought there, where you unleash this on the medical space. Maybe if we get through the next 25 years, if we are default alive for the next 25 years, longevity of human beings, you can push it by another 50 years. So the average lifespan of a human being can be 120, 130. I don't know how many of you want to live that long, but I'm excited by this. Like, all these are cool things where, you can get excited about getting up, apart from the robotic stuff that we're doing. So that's my kind of excitement for the future, how AI can make the world a better place.
For me, I've been always thinking that how do we push the boundaries, what we are doing and what will be very exciting. So I keep hearing some of these space companies saying we are going to become a multi-planetary galaxies species. Probably we should, where we would like to go at, that if you want to grow food, scan the universe, say, okay, these are the places this can grow. All the things, right? So those are the things. Why do we just thinking growing something here, right? We are also saying that why don't we push the industrial thing to the moon and make the environment clean? There is no global warming, right? So we produce everything on the moon, ship it back to planet Earth and keep the planet green, right? So similarly, those things, I think those things, maybe we should think about those things which doesn't look can be possible, but I think that's the future.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we need more energy, we need more space, we need more minerals.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I think for me, I think it's about giving voice to the voiceless. Saying AI will democratize access, it will reduce cost, improve access to education, to healthcare, and really give things to people who have nothing. I think that's my vision, my optimistic vision. If I take away, and I think productivity, absolutely, but if we take away the engagement AI, which I'm really scared about, I think it really is about access.
For me, I think it's about discovering ourselves, in that there is, I think, particularly in India, if we go back in time, there's so much information, knowledge, wisdom that's available through several thousand years of existence that can redefine the assumptions that we live in today.
Yeah.
And we are caught in those assumptions. And I think the ability to liberate ourselves from that, to uncover knowledge, Lilyo Tahi Madhurpal Janu, that Tulsi was able to say with clarity, Jug Sahasra Jojan Par Banu, Lilyo Tahi Madhurpal Janu. He was exactly able to say the distance from the sun to the earth. How is that possible? This is a question we should answer. So if we start looking at those kind of questions, you may find connections that keep going further and further away, that have nuggets of information. And because we were not caught in the world of create a hypothesis, prove it, and come out, we were caught by observe, see if it works, and adopt. It's a totally different paradigm, but it did help humanity, and it did see humanity through for several thousand years. That's still an unproven theory in the Western world.
Yeah.
Therefore, for us, discovering that and understanding and bringing that to the fore may have a huge impact in the fundamentals in which we live. Lots of things we do are hamsters on a wheel, conditioned. I'm very scared of being conditioned.
Yeah, philosophically, energy can't be created or destroyed. That means whatever has happened in the world still exists. Can you discover that, go back in time? Can you create
So
that
it's very useful.
time frame?
It's very useful.
So,
if you can think of that, it's very useful. But it's tough.
For me, my biggest thing that I personally, it sounds very morose, but somewhere I just think about death a lot. And the more we are advancing and everything, what does it mean that hum brahmasmi, that realization at a cell level, and what does it mean to die and to live, and what is it? I wonder if technology will solve it, but somewhere I just think the more technology one sees, one is getting more inward and not very technology.
That is right.
Yeah.
We need to balance. We absolutely need to balance in humanity.
Yes. And with that, we come to the end of one of the best conversations that I've had the privilege of being part of. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
You made it so rich and made it so powerful, and I'm sure everyone who listens to this, watches this, will find this very useful. Thank you.